What's up, everybody? Sean back with you guys for week one NFL picks for the 2016-2017 season. I know I'm pumped. I hope you guys are pumped. The NFL is back. The long wait we've had is finally over. No more baseball highlights dominating SportsCenter. Finally, football is back. All right. So, I'm changing up the way I'm doing the video a little bit this year. All right. First, I used to give you guys 4 picks against the spread, right? I used to give you guys my top 4 picks, and that was that. This year, I'm going to give you guys every game, every week against the spread and who I like to win. To help differentiate the games a little bit, I have developed a system. It's a 5-star system. I shouldn't really say I developed a system. I'm just going to rank them from 1 to 5 stars. I didn't really develop it. It's not proprietary, just a basic 1 through 5 system. Basically, 1 star is what you would expect, right? It's like, if I had to pick this game, I wouldn't really bet it on my own. But if I had to pick it, this is the team I would go with. That's a 1-star game. 2 stars will mean I'm a little more confident in it. I mean, I might not want to bet it, but I have a little more confidence in the team that's going to win, but I probably wouldn't put that on my betting sheet. 3 stars means I like this team a lot to win. I'm more than it's not an average, it's not a flip, it's not a coin flip for me. I feel better about this team winning than I would for a 1 or 2 star team, but I might not want to bet it, but maybe I like it enough to throw it in a couple parlays and see what it does, or maybe I like it on its own. 4 stars is like, hey, I'm pretty confident this team is going to win. There's like 1 or 2 things that's holding me back from making it a 5-star game, but I like it a lot. 5 stars like, hey, this is my pick of the week. Maybe there could be multiple 5 stars in a week, but 5-star means like, hey, everything points to this team winning and covering the spread. So I love this game. Take it. So that's going to be the rating system for the ATS plays, okay? So what I'm going to do is give you my ATS plays first, all the games in the star system. Then I'm going to transition into your daily fantasy, okay? So I'm going to give you guys my top 3 quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and tight ends for your daily fantasy, DraftKings or Fanduel, whatever you play. I'm going to give you guys my top 3 plays on all those positions. Then the final thing I'm going to do is just something I want to do on my own because I kind of think it's fun to do. I did it last year towards the end of the year, and it was kind of interesting to see. I'm in a 12-team PPR fantasy league with all my friends that I've been in for years. And this league is highly competitive. It's a lot of knowledgeable guys, including one guy who was on Stump the Schwab, if you remember that show on ESPN. Although, coincidentally, he seems to be the worst player every year. But I digress. Basically, what I'm going to do is take an all-free agent team. And what that means is I'm going to take a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, a defense, a kicker, and a flex player from the free agent pool. And I'm going to throw them together and see how they perform. I'm going to look through the free agents and see who the best guys are that are available. And I'm also going to mention how their percentage of ownage is for Yahoo. So I'm going to tell you guys if it's a 5% guy, he's available and he's only owned in 5% of the leagues, or if he's available in, less. You know what I meant. But basically, that's going to be the final thing I do, just to see how they perform, to see, can you pick a free agent team from people who are available each week and be competitive? Can you do that in a year-long fantasy? So that's going to be the 3 things I'm doing. And so without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, guys, and being as though it's week 1 of the NFL season, before I get into the ATS picks for this week, the first thing I want to do is throw you guys out some Super Bowl picks of mine. If you're in Vegas and you're able to lay some odds on these, you can go ahead and bet on these teams if you wish. So the lowest ranked team is the Tennessee Titans. Now the Tennessee Titans are coming in at 80-1 odds. So even if you lay a $5 or $10 bet, you get some significant return there in your money. It's a little bit better than maybe throwing it on a slot, give you a rooting interest for the Titans. Looking up a little bit further, you got the New Orleans Saints, who are also at that 80-1 spot currently. They still got Drew Brees on that team, so you never know what could happen. Their offense was pretty good last season. Then we move up a little bit. You got the Buffalo Bills. They're at 60-1. That's pretty good. I mean, again, you're getting a Buffalo Bills team with Tyrod Taylor, LaShawn McCoy, and Sammy Watkins on that squad there. So 60-1 is not bad. Again, you're getting great odds. The Denver Broncos are 25-1 odds. So they're pretty good odds, I think, for the Super Bowl champion last year. Now, granted, they're starting Trevor Siemian at quarterback, but in any case, you can throw a bet on them. Not too bad. Then you got the Oakland Raiders, a young up-and-coming team, a team that I have 4 players on my fantasy squad in my league that I mentioned earlier. They're at 20 to 1, and so are the Indianapolis Colts. I expect Andrew Luck to have a bounce back year this season. He's healthy. They added some pieces on the offensive line to try to help protect him. They're at 20 to 1 as well. They're actually my favorite to get to the Super Bowl from the AFC. They're my current pick. And finally, we end with the Arizona Cardinals. They're at 8 and 1 right now. Their odds are 8 to 1. They're the current. They're actually third right now in the NFC. In terms of their odds, but they're actually tied with the Packers and the Seahawks, so they're technically in first place there. They're tied for first odd-wise for the NFC. But I like the Cardinals to make it to the Super Bowl from the NFC, and they are at 8 to 1 odds currently, so you can lay a bet on them as well if you'd like. All right, so that's going to do it for my Super Bowl picks for the week. Let's move into my ATS picks. For these ATS picks, let's start from the bottom and move our way up. My one-star games for this week, I have the Los Angeles Rams winning minus 2.5 points over the San Francisco 49ers. I don't particularly like either team. They're both going to be pretty bad this season, I believe. But I think the LA Rams will come out on top of this trash game on Monday Night Football, nevertheless. The second game is the Miami Dolphins, who are plus 10.5 over the Seattle Seahawks. Anytime you get a spread that's this big, I mean, I tend to go with the team that's getting the points, even though, I don't know statistically what, the odds are when a team's getting that many points. But I tend to think Miami can cover 10.5 over the Seattle team. We'll see if they do, but again, that's why it's a one-star game. The next one we're going to look at is the Cincinnati Bengals, who are minus 2.5 over the New York Jets. Of course, I like Cincinnati here, minus 2.5, but I don't love them. That's why they're on my one-star pick. We got Kansas City minus 7 over San Diego. I like Kansas City to win that one, obviously, and cover the 7 points. We've got Oakland plus 1 over New Orleans. I think Oakland wins this game outright, obviously. So if you're going to bet that, rather than take them plus 1, you'd be wiser to take the money line and get slightly better odds, because that 1 point is likely not going to be the difference between tying your game or losing it for you. Then we have Denver. I like Denver tomorrow night over Carolina. They are getting 3 points as well. I only have it as a one-star game because I'm not sure how Trevor Siemian's going to do in his first start for the Broncos there against a tough Carolina defense. Cam Newton's got a lot to prove, and that could go either way. Cam could try to do too much and he can make some mistakes, or Cam could come out firing and being like, hey, I'm getting revenge for what happened last year. I'm ready to go. I've got the team fired up. Side note, player to look out for, in that game, I would say, is Ted Ginn Jr. He had a big season last year. Towards the end, he was Cam's go-to, so he might come on strong in that game and get a touchdown or two, but we'll look for that. The next level is the two-star games. I like Cleveland plus 4 over Philadelphia. I like Dallas over the New York Giants, which is currently at a pick'em, and I like Houston minus 6 over Chicago. Now we're going to get into the three-star games. I like the Tennessee Titans, who are plus 2 over the Minnesota Vikings. I like the Buffalo Bills plus 3 over the Baltimore Ravens. Now we move into our four-star games for the week, and I like Indianapolis minus 3.5 over Detroit. Might want to consider going ahead and taking that in a teaser bet and moving the Colts down to 3 rather than at that 3.5 mark, or even down to 2.5. I like Arizona minus 6 over the New England Patriots. You've got Jimmy Garoppolo coming in, making his first start here for the Patriots, and I don't know how well he's going to do against a really tough Arizona defense. Of course, they've got Gronkowski still. They added Bennett in tight end position as well. Chris Hogan is a guy that's done really well in preseason. Will he get involved as well in the regular season as the go-to Wes Welker replacement type? We'll see. LeGarrette Blount's going to get a lot of action in that game as well, but I like Arizona minus 6.5. They got a strong defense. They had, I believe, the best offense in the NFL last season. So I look for David Johnson as well to have a big game against the Pats, and I like Arizona minus 6 over New England. The Green Bay Packers are minus 4.5 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. I like Green Bay to cover that spread. I like Aaron Rodgers to kind of rebound just like Andrew Luck and have a bounce back year. Not that they necessarily had horrible years last year, but they didn't have years that Aaron Rodgers and Andrew Luck are expected to have. So I like Green Bay here to go ahead and crush that 4.5 spread and beat Jacksonville pretty handily. Tampa Bay, I like plus 3 over Atlanta. Atlanta looked pretty bad during the preseason. I'm not sure they're going to be able to put it together come the regular season. And Tampa Bay is one of those teams that has been on everybody's radar to kind of step out and make a big splash and make the playoffs and do well. They've been on everyone's radar for the last couple of years, but this could potentially be the year that they make it. Jameis Winston should make some strides. And then you've got, of course, Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson at receiver, and you've got Doug Martin and Charles Sims back there in the backfield. So they've got a pretty potent offense. And I've only got one 5-star game this week. I love the Pittsburgh Steelers -3 over the Washington Redskins. Big Ben's going to be coming out firing to Antonio Brown, and I don't think this Washington Redskins team is going to be able to stop it. Kirk Cousins, I'm still not sold on as a go-to quarterback here. For the Washington Redskins, I'm not sure that he's their solution long term. Maybe he'll prove me wrong and play well, but I think he's going to struggle against this Pittsburgh defense, maybe have a turnover or two, and I think Pittsburgh should cover this -3 easily over the Washington Redskins. All right, moving right along to daily fantasy. The top quarterbacks I like this week, I like Andrew Luck versus the Detroit Lions. I think he'll have a monster game. I like Aaron Rodgers versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I like Derek Carr versus the New Orleans Saints. The top 3 running backs I like this week, number 1 is David Johnson versus New England. Number 2, Carlos Hyde versus the Los Angeles Rams. And number 3, Doug Martin versus Atlanta. Top 3 wide receivers I like is going to be number 1, Amari Cooper versus New Orleans. Number 2, T.Y. Hilton versus Detroit. Number 3, Antonio Brown versus Washington. My top 10 ends for the week are actually going to exclude Rob Gronkowski, believe it or not. I don't think he's going to have a big week this week since they're playing a tough defense and Garoppolo's starting. This week I like for tight ends, number 1, Zach Ertz versus Cleveland. Rookie quarterback Carson Wentz coming in there. I think he's going to look to dump it off to Ertz a lot. Number 2, Jordan Reed versus Pittsburgh. While I think Pittsburgh will win that game, I expect Jordan Reed to find the end zone at least once in that game. And number 3, Kobe Fleener versus Oakland. That game should be a shootout, and I think Drew Brees is going to try to look for his new target more than a couple times during that game. All right, and finally moving along to the last part of this segment here is... All right, finally moving right along to the waiver wire squad. So in my 12-team PPR league, all of these guys were available. And if I had to put together a lineup and I had to use only free agents that were available at the time of this video, which is Wednesday at 6:21 p.m., this was the squad that I came up with. We have at quarterback Joe Flacco, who was against the Buffalo Bills this week. He is owned in 21% of leagues on Yahoo. My starting running backs are going to be Terrence West, who is owned on 35% of leagues in Yahoo, but he's available in our league versus the Buffalo Bills. And Zach Zenner for Detroit, who is playing the Indianapolis Colts. He is he is only owned in 1% of leagues in Yahoo. Then we have our receivers. I got Ted Ginn Jr., who is owned in 37% of leagues in Yahoo versus the Denver Broncos there. Devontae Adams versus Jacksonville. Devontae is owned in 9% of Yahoo leagues. Kyle Rudolph for the Vikings versus the Tennessee Titans. He is owned in 18% of Yahoo leagues. Matt Bryant for Atlanta versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is going to be our kicker, and he is owned in 13% of leagues. Our defense, I went with Tampa Bay, who is owned in 6% of leagues. They are obviously playing Atlanta. And for my flex player, I went with a high, it could be a low-risk, high-reward type player in Terrell Pryor. Never thought I'd pick Terrell Pryor as a flex player, but I'm going to do it. And he's had a couple big games in the preseason where he's had a couple long touchdowns. So let's see if he can do that versus the Philadelphia Eagles. He is owned in only 13% of Yahoo leagues. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in for Week 1 NFL picks. I'll probably come out with a video either on Monday or Tuesday, probably actually scrap that, Tuesday or Wednesday to recap how I did the previous week, and then I'll try to get my new video up for the following week since games come on Thursdays all the time. You got to get them out earlier. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next week.